continue with Ahavat Olam, which I believe is on page 150. Steve has got it. And I want to thank Gal and Steve for being the co-host, and helping with everything. So this is Ahavat Olam, as a Debbie Friedman melody. And as always, I hope that you'll join and sing with me. We continue with
we
Shema.
have our Shema.
Rabbi wants to say something. So.
Right. And we have our 2-page Shema, and it was wonderful that Reformed Jews made the Shema a 2-pager, because it unites all of us together, and it's something that we all believe in, and it's something that is, as we used to say, the watchword of our faith, and we can say this together, and we say it as unity. And even though God is one, God is perceived by many people as something a little bit different. And just as, if someone has 3 or 4 kids, you ask, what's dad's best attribute? And they'll say, well, it's his French toast, or it's his ability to put puzzles together or whatever. And so we all say that God is without challenge, and God is without being able to be described fully. But we know that God is one, and we hope that people allow God into their hearts. And when we're kids, we view God in one way, and when we become adults, we view God differently. And when life is difficult, we also view God a little bit differently as well too. And my hope is that it's the unity of God within all of us, although it is different. It does unite all of us. So if you are able to at this point, we ask you to rise for the Shema as Cantor leads us into it.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meotecha ve'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. Okay. Sorry it wasn't up there, but I have a feeling most of you know this. We're going to continue with Mi Chamocha. This is a melody you may not know, but I hope that you'll learn very quickly. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha neder b'kodesh Nora tehilot oseh felet. Try it with me. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha neder b'kodesh Nora tehilot oseh felet. Malchutecha ra'u v'necha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe. Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh Norah tehilot oseh felet. V'nemar ki vada Adonai et Yaakov, uge'alo miyad hazak mimenu, miyad hazak mimenu. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neder b'kodesh Norah tehilot oseh felet, oseh felet, oseh felet. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. We're going to continue, and I'm going to share my screen for this one. So in my 20, I can't believe it's 20, but in my 20 years at Temple Beth David and what Rabbi Lachtman lovingly called the back row choir, we had a particular melody that we sang often. And this is it. And so I know I can see some of the back row choir who are now adults who I hope will sing it with me. As soon as okay. Are my words not up? Let me try it again. Take two. There we go. I just wanted you all to be surprised. Except for I just did something weird. So I'm gonna do a Debbie Friedman moment, which is retune my guitar. Okay, now I'm ready. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'ha'amidenu malkeinu l'chayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wing, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us daily wrong from right. Amen. 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 Shelter us beneath thy wings. Amen. Ufros aleinu sukat, sukat, shlomecha. Ufros Rabbi, unmute, okay? You're missing your voice.
Okay, there we go. So how wonderful it is that we have the Sukkot Shalom. We have a sukkah of peace. We have a shelter of peace, and our faith can be our shelter of peace. And although we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or next week, we do know that Mirza Hashem, it may be God's will, and that whatever comes before us, trials and tribulations make us grow. Of the abundance of blessings that we have, and also encourages our growth. And so the Hashkivenu is important because as we, lie down in peace. Sometimes we're not always lying down in peace. Sometimes we're worried about whether we're going to get our next shot, our first vaccine, or we're worried about the pandemic, or we're worried about um, a loved one and how they're doing, with their health. And so we're supposed to lie down with a sense of that we leave the day behind, and we're going to wake up to something new and bright, and a new beginning, a new day that has never been before. And how do we live it? How do we embrace it? And then with the sense of Shabbat, it helps us to refocus upon who we are, what we can yet be, and what we can yet be when we are together. And so tonight, with the 42 or so of you who are here, sharing the screen, we know what we have been, and we know the wonderful moments that we had with Cantor and Mimi for a couple decades, and we also know that we were able to somehow continue without her, and she was able to continue to grow, and with a formidable congregation in the other valley. But we all stay connected because there's a sense of love, and there's a sense of trust, and there's a sense of what we may yet become. And so as we are, I don't know how many people have said this, but next year is Temple Beth David's 75th year, and we have lots, ever so much to be grateful for. And I see on tonight's Yahrzeit list, we have some of the people who were some of our founders, and how wonderful it is. Dr. Earl M. Edison was one of our early families. Herman Sandilow, Barnett Gorlin. And then we also have Robert Marver, or Bob Marver, whose Yahrzeit is recent as well. And Bob was one of our early presidents, and who continued to be an active part of our congregation. And we're very lucky that Carol is still participatory and supportive of our congregation. And so we've come a long way in 75 years, but not everybody who was with us 75 years ago is physically with us, but I feel like they're rooting us on. And I think Earl Edison is rooting, Dr. Edison is really rooting us on, and as would be Bob Marver. And some of these people, last week we had the Yahrzeit for Sally Scott. And for some of you, you remember we had a scholarship fund, in her memory. And so we continue on, and we have these wonderful memories. And so Hashkivenu is the music that tells us that we lie down with peace, because there's nothing we can do to undo what today was, and that we wake up to tomorrow, which is brand new, a day that really has never been before. And so that's why we're so grateful for the Hashkivenu and the beautiful way in which Cantor Mimi has shared it with all of us. So the next beautiful piece of our liturgy is Vishamru, and those who keep the Sabbath, Ledorotam Brito Lam, for generations to come. It is a covenant. It is a sense of who we are. It's a sense of breaking with the week and having a new day. And for those of you who have lived in Israel, like Ellen and I did, the Shabbat was something we look forward to. On Friday around noon or so, all the stores begin to close, and we gather the challah, we would go to Pfefferberg's and get special Shabbat food to eat, and we would begin Shabbat. And how wonderful it was, and our cares and our worries were all behind us. And Ellen and I were both students in an Ulpan, and I was also a student at HUC, where the Ulpan was, just like Ellen was. And so we have a real sense of keeping the Sabbath, and it sort of kept us alive from the other 6 days of work and of anticipation, and sometimes of worry. So the Hashkivenu, was important, but the Vishamru is even more important, because that's what keeps us together today, because we keep the Sabbath, and that helps us to affirm our sense of community, a community that will next year be 75 years old. So Mimi, we'll let you go with the Vishamru.
Okay, 75. I was there at the 40th and the 50th, and I don't know if I was there at the 60th, but 40th, 50th, I
Yeah,
think so.
we invited you. We invited you and you came. And I also want to thank the Adonites of Aod, whoever went ahead and paid the upgrade fee, so no one has to check back in again. So we've been under Cantor's leadership, we've been upgraded, and I think Arlene or Jan or Mickey, whoever upgraded us, but
Thank you,
Cantor,
Temple
Mimi,
Beth
we've been
David.
upgraded. Yes.
All right, join with me.
What page is that, Cantor?
What?
What page?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
162.
Thank you.
162.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasod et ha-Shabbat v'dorotam b'rit olam. Rabbi, will you unmute?
I did. Oh, I already did. Yes. Now we have the time for the Misha Barak when we say a prayer for those who are ill. We say a prayer for those who are the caregivers of those who are ill, and we say a prayer that they may have strength during this difficult time. May they bring comfort to those who are ill. And one child many years ago came up to me and said, "Rabbi, why do we bother with the Mishaberach? It didn't help Grandpa, and Grandpa died anyway." And it's not a prayer that's going to make people live beyond their physical means or their medical means. If it were, we could close down the City of Hope and we could close down St. Jude's. We wouldn't need it. But it's to help people to have a sense of wholeness during a time when their life is abruptly shaken and they don't know what the future brings, and they know that they are suffering, but they don't know how long and with whom. And when we as Jews say the Mishaberach, we think about those in our community who are being challenged and who are suffering and who need some encouragement. And so we do this with a real sense of reaching out. And we reach out today to our own congregants, Pauline Ginsburg, Marty Kravitz, Ken and Shirley Anholtz, Renee Klein. We reach out to those in our community who are ill, and so we would like some of you, if you want to unmute yourself and share names, you certainly can, or you could just mention them in your heart, and all can do that. Yeah, I got the names of Jean Arnold, who is recovering from a broken limb, Iris Malikoff, and Brooklyn Langer. What page is 371? Simon Wesley, Laura Killingsley, Debbie Singer. Any other names? We have Denise Eels. Leslie Fidance, Sylvia Fishman, Beth and Spencer Rosenthal, Doris Robin, who is feeling the power of her second inoculation,
Jean Tarnov,
Pat Freeman,
Polly Ginsberg, and Pat Garcia.
Thank
Matthew
you.
Josephson and Susan Lonis.
John Cui Wong, and Emily Shine.
Pat Freeman, Fern Reidman, page 371.
Misheberach Avotenu Mekor Leimotenu, may the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach Mekor habracha lavotenu, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. May all those who you've been praying for receive a complete and full healing, a refuah shlema.
Thank you, Cantor. As is the custom in some congregations, the coming prayers, which some people call the Amidah, are part of the Shmoneh Esrei, although there's not 18 parts on a Friday night service. This is, part of our service, and some congregations do it once they recite it, and the second time it's done silently. But tonight, because of time, we're going to do it just silently. And in congregations, very often people would stand up, and when everyone has returned back to their sitting position, then the music would begin. But tonight we're going to do it all silently. This is on page 164. It begins Adonai Sifatai Tivtach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. And this is Adonai, open our lips that our mouth may declare your praise. And this is one of my favorite sayings on 165. Pray as if everything depended on God, but act as if everything depended on you. And sometimes when we ask God to end hunger, it's not going to happen if we don't do our part. We can't end hunger ourselves, but neither can we desist from doing our part and encouraging others to do their part as well. And when we're all united, we are strong. And that's the concept of the United States. Each state is a little bit different, although North Dakota and South Dakota are sort of the same, but the states are all basically different. And it's all of us coming together to make us united. And at times, we're not as united as we should be, just like any family. But what happens tonight and what happens on Shabbat is that we go through our prayers and we ask all of you to read silently from it's 164 until I think 180. All right, so take a few moments now.
Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rabbi Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. I think we're continuing with Aleinu. Is that true?
You can also rise for the Aleinu, and by rising, we stand, and by standing, we say that we stand for this prayer. We stand for what it says. We stand for to uphold our faith, to uphold our religion, to uphold the precepts of God, although the interpretations of God are varied and widespread, but we stand for this because all of us, we stand united but not uniform. And this is on page, the Aleinu is on page
587.
and 589 as well.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latet gedula leotzer breshit shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu kehohamon. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And then we do V'ne'emar.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Beautiful, beautiful. We have some announcements tonight. Announcement from, is it too late to make an announcement for the Humantaschen? Is Carol here tonight?
Hi, I'm here. Hello.
Yes. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Um, um, uh, about the Hamantaschen, I guess you'll just have to check in and see.
You have to check in. There'll be a waiting line for cancellations. For those who have canceled, or we'll do it. Okay.
Well,
there are-
maybe we'll just have a lot of enthusiasm and baking our hundreds of Hamantaschen tomorrow, and they can always check in.
Good. Okay. Right. And we thank Gal for doing that Humantaschen history in her constant contact. A lot of people were amazed at the folklore behind the Haman's ears.
And I thank you for approving and reading and providing your 2 cents to it.
Oh, well, thank you. And so we have other announcements too. I think.
Lori Everett has an announcement.
Okay, good. And Jan also has one.
I have one too.
Good. Lori, do you want to do yours first?
Yes, next Friday night, we are having our Purim service at 7 o'clock. We are starting a little earlier. So it could be a big family service with all the little ones. Hopefully the little ones will come. And we'll be reading from the Megillah. If you would like to read from the Megillah, please contact Cantor Orley at the temple. And it's going to be in English. Bring your gruggers, eat your hamantashen, dressed in costume. We will have a costume contest for the adults and for the kids. So dress up, and we'll see you next Friday at 7 o'clock. And have a wonderful time reading the Megillah.
Just to piggyback on that, all the children who come will get a toy from the toy chest, and every adult who wears a costume, we're asking you to show your costume off, and you'll get a nice present too. So everybody who comes in costume gets presents.
So your presence is wanted next week. Okay.
Well,
thank
my announcement is just about the same, but we also have some decorated Mishloach Manot bags and some extra groggers for people that are not in Sunday school. And we will put them out with the Hamantashen. And if you would like to take any of that stuff, we would love it if you would make a donation to the food bank. Oh yeah, and also bring the coins from your, I don't know how that got to be my screen sharing, but anyways, bring your coins from your tzedakah, and that will also go for charity. And we'll have a good old time next week.
Good. And so for Adele and Jason, if they want to come by and pick up the grogger or two, we encourage you to come by and do that to help welcome you into our congregation. And for those of you who can't be here next week, Purim is important. And for those of you who know, Ivrit Kala, the Purim also comes from the same shorish or root as Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur, we talk about being the person we want to be. And on Purim, we dress up to be the person we would like to be, because we know about the heroics of Queen Esther, and we know about that she probably wouldn't have done it without the encouragement of Uncle Mordecai. And it's a community, and it's not just Esther, it's her family who encouraged her to do it. Of course, she did the ultimate step, but Purim is about standing up. And when there's evil, we are commanded to make noise. And that's what the grogger is. Every time we hear the evil name of Haman, we are supposed to make noise. When we hear about people who are taking away other people's rights, when we hear about people taking away other people's rights, we have to stand up. And we don't want people to be diminished in our society. We want to acknowledge their uniqueness and their entitlement to have the same pleasures and opportunities that we have. So Purim, although it's fun and although it's tasty, it's also important because it reminds us. And as Jan said, the Mishloach Manot is sending gifts to other people. Now, these gifts are not ones from Nordstrom or from Tiffany. These are gifts that would have, maybe one or two Hamantaschens in it, a couple pieces of candy, maybe a nickel or a dime or a quarter in it, just for the token of giving them the opportunity to give tzedakah, because not everyone can afford to give tzedakah, but if we give them nickels and dimes, then they can do it. So it's an important holiday, and it's sort of been relegated to children in costumes. And I know there's going to be a Megillah enactment and reading this Sunday as well, but it will not be, it's more for children. And next week is for children and adults both. So we hope that that you will attend and become part of that service. We think about people who stood up for our congregation, and we think about we think about people who help us out. And I want to mention Cantor Orley, who saw us in distress and stepped up and upgraded our subscription. Pardon? So we want to thank Cantor Orley, who was off this week, but who was here anyway. And we thank the Bernsteins also for coming here. And we thank the Hasselkorns also for being here as well on this Shabbat. And we certainly miss them, but we're glad you're all doing well. So tonight we remember those people who were part of our congregation in the early years. And as I mentioned last week, that we sometimes go over the names as though they're names in a phone book and they have no connection to us. But having been here for a couple of years, I know now that many of these names had a connection, and many of these names represent people who worked hard for the continuity and the success of Temple Bet David. So on this Shabbat, remember the yahrzeit, the anniversary of passing Dr. Earl M. Edison, who was a longtime member of our congregation starting in the 50s. Isidore Yetra, who donated the wings to our memorial board in our sanctuary. Casimir Woldansky, Denise Romano, who is the mother of Josette, and we thank her for that wonderful gift of Josette and raising her to being such a wonderful human being and a dedicated Jew as well. Herman Sandelau, who was also a former person from the 50s and 60s who were part of Temple, as was Barnett Gorlin. Julius Shulman, who I don't know if all of you can appreciate, but I'm diverging a little bit or diverting a little bit. He thought the library was just too bright, and Julius Shulman put up the money so that we could do the shutters in the library, so it wouldn't be too bright. And so, there's no plaque to him for that. But when I go in there and I see those beautiful shutters, I think about Julius and what he did. Adine Grace Reckon, who's James's mother. Florence Rinaldi. Seymour Rubenstein, who I imagine, is Mr. Rubenstein's father, and Samuel Rubin. And we also, Seymour Rubenstein is the father of Louis Rubenstein. And also we note the passing this last week of Neil Al-Hadef, who was the brother of Wayne. We say Zichronam Livracha, their memories are a blessing. And when we remember them, not just their names, but the foundations upon which we have built. So when somebody comes into the sanctuary and say, "Oh, how beautiful," I think back about during the days when Paul worked on our refurbishment, when Erwin Frazen worked on refurbishing our sanctuary after the fire, and how they made it even more beautiful than it was before. We don't say thank you enough to these people who gave years and decades and sweat and love to the temple. And so when I think about the yahrzeit list, it could be just a group of names, but it also are people who we're very indebted to for what they have done, and we don't see it, we don't hear their names. And just like Bob Marver, whose yahrzeit was last week as well. These are people who stayed with the congregation through thick and through thin, and didn't leave after the bar bat mitzvah, but stayed on to help the temple in any way that it needed. On page 598 is the affirmation of life. It's the mourner's Kaddish. And if you'd like to stand, we encourage you to do so. So, Yit Gadal, V'yit Gadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yamad Dibra Krute, V'yamlik Machute, B'chayachon of Yomachon of Chayida called Beit Israel. Bagalavi is man kariv im rameim. Yehe shemei rabba mevarach le'alam ol meyel maya. Yisbarach yishtavach v'itbar v'raman v'itnaseh. V'sadar v'salel v'salel shemei kudisha brichu. Leila min kol berchata v'shirata tushbahata v'namata dami ran v'almavim rameim. Yehe shlama rabba min shemai v'chayim. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'murameim osei shalom b'mramav hu yasei shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'murameim. The departed whom we have just remembered have all entered the peace of life eternal. Though vanished from bodily sight, they don't cease to be. They abide in the shadow of the Most High and live on in the hearts of those who love them. May the beauty, the warmth, the strength, the high ideals they cherish be for us as a loving and a living benediction, and encouraging us to carry on as we enter our 75th year, and to make sure that the next 75 years are that we've helped to lay the foundations to make them possible. Adonai Ozlam Oyatain, Adonai Yevarech et Amo v'Shalom. God, you've given us strength. May we be a blessing to those who follow us. Amen.
So are we doing a closing song? You might have learned this particular melody from Cantor Schwartz. I'm pretty sure you probably did. And thank you for taking, don't put up the words, because I think you all know Oseh Shalom, and to see each other's faces is way more fun. So, Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Shabbat Shalom. I want to thank again Gal, and I want to thank Steve Berman, who I think is doing Kiddush and Motzi in a moment, for their help. And thank you, Rabbi Lachtman, for inviting me, and to Cantor Orly for being very gracious and allowing me to share your bima tonight. So
Well,
thank you all, and Shabbat Shalom.
it's our privilege to be able to recall you. For all of us who recall the beautiful music that you used to do. Just a quick note for those who are 45 and under, we have the Havdalah service this Saturday night. Mickey and Lindy, lead it. And so we have, we have a lot of the young couples, and we encourage them. We used to have a young couples club, and now the young couples club are all on Social Security. So that happens sometimes, but I'd really, love to have some of our newer couples, some of our younger couples. And if you want to get hooked onto it, it's all on Zoom, and it's on the website. So if you click it, and it's tomorrow night. I think it's
Rabbi,
Yeah.
it's not just young couples, it's young singles. Mickey, you never know. Mickey says all young people young adults are invited.
Oh, good. You put it up there. And you don't have to really be young, just young at heart. And it's
young. No,
right.
I'm not invited. I'm not invited.
But that's what the purpose of a community is, for people to make relationships, to have relationships, to find a kesher from one person to another. So Adele and Jason, we would like you to come to that as well and meet some of the people. And again, Adele and Jason, this was their first night here, and they said they enjoyed it. And for the 42 computers that signed on, again, it was wonderful being with all of you tonight. I know Cantor Mimi is not used to an hour-and-a-half service on Friday night, but thank you for putting up, with us. So Arlene just said you can be in your 20s. You can be in your 20s and 30s. Well, I used to be in my 20s, and I used to be in my 30s. It's a long time ago. But anyway,
Mimi, you made me feel like I was back in my 40s tonight.
Yeah, I think that we were back to the future tonight.
Right, but that's what it all is. And and to see Amy joining us from Colorado, how wonderful.
Amy was in the back row choir at one point.
Yes,
And
yes,
Joey Angelfield and Lauren Angelfield and the two Evans.
right.
And the two Hertzfelds. And
Yes.
among others, I'm sure I'm missing people. So if you're on and you were in, sorry.
Yeah. And all those people graduated and grew up to being fine, wonderful people. And so we encourage, another generation, to be part of it. And tonight we have, two past presidents here. We have Lori Kleinberg, who's a past president, and we have Paul Schwartz, also a past president. And so it's, and then we have, of course, the first spouses of them as well. We have Dee. Dee, are you here with your mom? Is she with you? No, she's not. Okay. All right. Well, I was hoping she'd be with you. Anyway.
No, I'm not with her tonight, but.
Okay. Well, be sure and tell her, tell your mom what I said about your dad. Okay.
Yeah, I think she's listening. I think mom is listening.
Oh, okay.
She's at home. I'm at home.
Okay. Good. Good to see you. Good to see
you. Too. You too.
So we're going to do the hamotzi, and we're going to have Steve lead us in the hamotzi, and even before that, he's going to lead us in the kiddush. So if you are all ready for that, and you've poured your wine already, okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uv'ratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit kivu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh זכר ציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנהלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Thank you, Steve. That was beautiful. Now, if you want to stay and talk amongst yourselves, we encourage you to do that. Cantor Mimi will be here also for autographs if you want. If you have a Kishka to autograph or a Latka to autograph, she will autograph them. But again, it's a delight to have her here, and it was a delight to have Cantor Orley rescue us from having to sign in and out again. We thank Cantor Orley for watching over us on her night off.
Another heroine.
Hey,
Yes,
so-
another
sorry,
heroine. Our Esther. She was our Esther tonight.
Rabbi, sorry to butt in again, but I just found out that we have 10 Temple Bet David Mass left. So when you pick up your Hummintashen and you want to make an additional donation, the Mass, I believe, are only $10. And they are the most comfortable mask I have ever worn, and they are a beautiful turquoise blue. So there's only 10 of them if you want to pick one up when you pick up your Hummintashen. Thank you.
Good. Again, Shabbat Shalom to all of you. How wonderful. And I encourage you to stay in and schmooze. We don't have Amy Schwartz, on often. And so I know a lot of you are very fond of her. And again, we thank Gal for being the primary host, and for Steve for doing so much to make sure everything flowed properly. And Cantor Mimi for got to do service at Temple Bet David without leaving Tarzana. You're still on Hatteras, right?
I still am.
Yes. Oh, good. Well, we thank you and our love to you, and hopefully we can do this again. And again, thank you for all of you who make Temple Bet David possible.
So maybe Cantor Orley and I can do it together sometime when we're back together and we're in person. That would be really wonderful
Would be
if
terrific, yeah.
she is so inclined.
Yes, I'm sure she would. I'm sure she would. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Shabbat Shalom.
Mimi,
Bye.
the sisterhood thinks you look beautiful.
Yeah, you
Thank
really
you.
do.
Thank you.
You look great.
Thank you.
Mm.
Lots
How
of
do you guys-
aging. I'm gonna
how do you
undo.
guys